I'm going to let you in on something that might unsettle you a little. Some of the smartest people walking around right now, the ones who can read a room instantly, who predict outcomes before they even happen, who somehow just know when something feels off, didn't develop those abilities in a classroom. They developed them the hard way, slowly, painfully, the same way scar tissue forms, out of necessity. They didn't even realize it was giving them a rare kind of intelligence. They were just told they were too sensitive, too anxious, or too much. So if you've ever felt like your brain works differently, like you're constantly scanning, constantly processing, always 3 steps ahead in conversations, then this might describe you. And what I'm about to explain might be the first time it actually makes sense. Sign 1. You read people with an accuracy that almost feels unfair. Not like a trick. Not like cold reading. Something deeper. Somebody walks into a room, and before they even speak, you've already picked up on something. Their micro-expressions, a forced smile, the way their posture feels slightly off compared to last time, and more often than not. You're right. That can be unsettling. For others, and sometimes for you too. What's actually happening is this. When someone grows up in an emotionally unpredictable environment, their brain adapts. It becomes hyper-aware of subtle shifts. Psychologists call this hypervigilance. It starts as a survival mechanism. But it doesn't just switch off. It follows you into every room, every relationship, every ordinary day that somehow feels heavy. And the result, you become exceptionally good at reading people, almost without trying. Sign 2. You understand things emotionally before you can explain them logically. You sensed a friendship ending before anything was said. You felt a shift in a relationship before the conversation ever happened. And when you tried to explain it, you couldn't fully put it into words. You just knew. And then later, it proved true. There's a reason for that. Early emotional experiences, especially difficult ones, are processed differently in the brain. They're stored in ways that don't always pass through language first. So your body recognizes patterns before your conscious mind can explain them. Your nervous system knows. Before your thoughts catch up, what seems irrational on the surface is often a different kind of intelligence. Sign 3. You're comfortable with complexity and contradiction. Most people want clear answers, clear villains, clean endings. But you've learned something else. You understand that people can love you and still hurt you. That two opposite things can both be true at the same time. That life rarely fits into simple categories. This isn't cynicism, it's depth. When you grow up in complicated environments, your mind adapts to hold multiple truths at once. You stop expecting things to be simple, and that creates a kind of emotional and cognitive sophistication most people never develop. Sign 4. Your empathy can feel overwhelming. Not surface-level empathy, real, physical empathy. You don't just understand how someone feels. You feel it. Someone else's pain can land in your chest like it's your own. A stranger's story can affect you deeply, sometimes more than you expect. This is known as emotional contagion, the unconscious absorption of other people's emotions. And when your sensitivity is heightened, and it's important to say this clearly, these abilities come with risks. Sometimes your brain sees danger where there is none. Sometimes silence feels like rejection. Sometimes empathy turns into carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. And that constant awareness, it drains you. This isn't a flaw, but it is something you have to manage. Sign 5. You self-sabotage right when things start going well. This is one of the hardest ones to admit. You move towards something good, a relationship, an opportunity, a better version of your life. And then, something shifts. You pull back. You create distance. You disrupt it. Not because you want to fail, but because part of you expects things to fall apart anyway. So, you leave first. This is tied to something called the window of tolerance. Your nervous system's comfort zone. If you didn't grow up with consistent safety, then stability can actually feel unfamiliar, even threatening. Calm doesn't feel safe. Sign 6. You constantly search for the why, not casually, obsessively. Why did they say that like that? Why does this situation feel familiar? Why do I react this way? You analyze your thoughts, your reactions, your patterns, almost non-stop. This deep internal analysis is often linked to what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. Your mind learned early that it had to make sense of things that didn't make sense. And once that process starts, it doesn't really stop. You become someone who searches for meaning in everything. Sign 7. You're extremely self-aware. But that doesn't always mean you can change. You understand your patterns. You can explain them clearly. You can trace where they came from, and yet, sometimes you still repeat them. That gap between knowing and changing can feel frustrating, almost painful, because awareness is powerful, but it isn't the same as healing. Real change happens through new experiences, repeated over time, until your body starts to feel safe in a different way. And maybe that's the most important part of all this. None of this means something is wrong with you. It means your mind adapted. It means you learned to survive in ways that made you more aware, more perceptive, more complex than most. But it also means you've been carrying a weight that not many people understand. And if parts of this felt uncomfortably familiar, then understanding it is just the beginning. Changing it takes time, structure, and consistent effort. But it is possible. And once you start, things can shift in ways you didn't think they could. Like, share and subscribe my channel, and thanks for watching.